Discussions with a Nobody podcast. I'm recording this. It is Wednesday night, May the 20th, 2026, and I am glad to be back with you again. I know it's been about 2 months since the last episode. There's been a lot going on as I gesture broadly at the world. Certainly a lot going on from a global country standpoint, but in my own life as well. It's been in some ways a very exciting in a good way spring. In some ways it's been very exciting in a not so good way spring, but we continue to press on, and I will get into talking about a good bit of it here today on the show. But I just want to thank you all for sticking with me. Again, this is the 39th discussion on this feed, and you can follow along with us, with me, I guess, and the show on all of our social media. We are on Twitter at DWAN Pod, Facebook.com/discussions with a nobody, if you know where to find me. And if you're listening to this, you most likely know where to find me. You can give me a subscribe and a follow and all of that in all of my channels. You can get the show on YouTube and all podcast platforms as well. Hit our link tree in our social medias, as well as the episode description. That'll get you everywhere. And also, if you enjoy the show, if you enjoy the episode, share it with somebody. Encourage them to give it a listen. Listen to the back catalog. Again, there's only 38 previous discussions here, some longer than others, some shorter than others, but a little bit here for each and every one of you. So appreciate you sticking with me. So again, it's been about 2 months. It was May the 20th now. March the 17th was the last show that I did. And unfortunately, and for those who have been with me from the beginning or even before I started this venture, you know the history with me and my father and his background, and unfortunately, recently he has landed back in prison, and this one was kind of just as surprising as last year. And it's been about a week or so since he's gone back, and I jokingly last week when this all went down said, well, at least I'll have something to talk about in therapy on Monday. And I did talk about it in therapy on Monday. And I think a phrase that I used in that appointment is that I'm kind of in an odd state of peace about it, especially compared to where I was last year. And I don't know if that's because it's just a little bit more fresh. And it's something that I just recently went through with him. Last year there was a lot of things for me to do to kind of manage his life while he was away. There's a little bit less for me to do this time, which is very relieving. And last year there was a lot of uncertainty, unknown, unfamiliarity, because it had been over a decade since it had last occurred. But now it's been about a year, and so maybe it's just that being more aware, more prepared, and that it just it didn't hit me quite as hard as it did last year, and it's I still question how we got back here again, and I'm sad, I'm scared the normal emotions you would go through when somebody that you care about is in that situation. But ultimately, I need to, I need to put and prioritize myself and my health and my well-being, at the top of all other things. And, my first instinct was to try and do everything I needed to do to manage things right away within the first day or two. And then I said, you know what? No, I don't need to do that. I sat down, I made a list of the things I need to do, and I'm gradually working through them. So I think just prioritizing my time and my mental space and my mental health, as well as that of my family, my immediate family, my wife, is the most critical thing. And that's how I'm approaching the situation this time around. And, ultimately, I can't control anything as is visible with the entire world. Again, gesturing broadly as I deal in the small little pocket of the universe that is me. I can't control a lot of things. What I can control is how I react to them and how I deal with them. And I want to be smarter, and I want to be more mindful of how I react to things and the things that I can and can't control. So if you believe in prayer, send them our way. If you believe in positive vibes and lighting a candle, or any sort of way to invoke good and send it towards a person or a situation, we will certainly take them at this point. Kind of connected to that, but again, just the broader world and life at the moment. A lot of the last few months, and maybe part of the reason why I didn't record as frequently as I would have planned on or thought I was going to, is just managing the anxiety and fatigue that just is life in the world at the moment. If you know me, you know where I stand about things. And right now is a very heavy and difficult time to simply exist. And sometimes, as says the title of this discussion, I've had topics and things written down and ready to record, and I'm going to do it tonight. And then something happens, and I just say, you know what? I don't need to record tonight. And that's kind of the beauty of this show, of this venture, is unlike Huddle Up Podcast, when we are in the week-to-week grind, so to speak, of a football season, and 3CT and the Take 3 Wrestling Podcast, the wrestling shows that I do, that are weekly ventures. Now, granted, the last 2 weeks we've been off and we've taken some time away, and but those ventures, it is a weekly, more repetitive, and I don't say that in a bad way, but more repetitive schedule wise, that this venture can be when I want to, and there are times when I'm thinking I want to do this more, and then there are times where it just doesn't happen, for anxiety reasons, for fatigue reasons, for I just sometimes don't know what to record about and to talk about. And all of those things wrapped into one sometimes prevent me from walking down into the studio and hitting the record button and sitting in front of this microphone for any extended period of time. And also, I mean, I've just been doing other things. The Hershey Bears, although since now been eliminated, made it to the postseason this year. So I got up to a couple of games there. My wife and I went to a Phillies game in Philadelphia 2 Fridays ago, and stayed at the Live Hotel Live Hotel and Casino. And they don't sponsor this show. I would love them to, but. If you have a chance to take in a night there, it is a 5-minute walk from the stadium. Highly recommend that. Much easier than dealing with post-game traffic. And we've been spending a lot of our weekend time at Hersheypark, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. So, not as I started the episode with things have been very heavy. There's also been a lot of good because, I have been enjoying things in life and still just getting out and doing things as well. So while there's been things that have kept me away from the microphone in this show, it has not all been bad. So do not worry about that. Let's check in with Disney and the Disney realm. It's something that I've been updating regularly on this show. And speaking of checking in, 194 days from today, as I record this, I will be checking in with my wife and my mom and stepdad to the All-Star Movies Resort for a little bit of an extended vacation down there right after Thanksgiving. So. And I can tell you how much I'm looking forward to that. Just the other day, a video popped up in my TikTok algorithm, and it was as you turn a corner and get the first view of the ball in Epcot, and it was the Epcot music, and I started to tear up, and I looked at my wife and I said, I am very likely going to cry when we get there in less than 200 days. And it's really it hits me in different ways just how special that world, that realm, Disney has become for me. How important and much of a happy place and a happy world that Disney is for me. And 2.5 years ago at this point, when we were planning the trip we took in 2024 for my wife's birthday, I would not have anticipated ever feeling anywhere close to this excited about going back, this connected to that world, and it's truly been a life changer, and has over the last couple of years I've been just become so entrenched and in love with all things Disney. And I know there's a lot of people who have a lot of opinions about Disney adults, and you can have those opinions, but I don't care. I am a unapologetic Disney adult. Catching up on more of the movies again, if you're new to the show, in the aftermath of the trip I took in 2024, my wife and I was like, I need to really dig in and catch up on movies in the Disney profile, in the animated Disney Pixar realm, and in that catalog, and we've been working our way through a lot. Recently we've watched the Three Caballeros, Sleeping Beauty, Ichabod and Mr. Toad, Raya and the Last Dragon, Hunchback of Notre Dame, just to name a few. All been very good. I think this batch, there hasn't been any that I would say are among my absolute favorites. There's to this point, there's not been any that I've disliked. It's just there are some that I have really enjoyed more than others. But what I've enjoyed about this journey through the catalog is kind of bouncing around, quote unquote, all over the map, all over the Disney map. So I'm not just starting at the very first animated movie and working my way through them, and then starting at number one in the Pixar catalog and working my way through those, and then doing the live actions one at a time. I'm just going. We will sit down and, hey, is there one we want to watch? No, all right. Well, here. I will take the list. I'll say to my wife, pick from, one of these three. Friends of mine who will make suggestions. A couple of coworkers have been like, "Oh, have you seen this one? Okay, maybe we'll watch that one next." My friend Matt, who, if you listen to the Stranger Things episode of this show, he has started a Disney podcast of his own, Out of the Parks, and in fact, Hunchback of Notre Dame is one that we watched because he was covering that movie on his show, and I was like, well, if I'm going to listen to this, I should probably know the movie that he is covering. So it was important to check that out and to watch that, and so that has helped make decisions as well for what I'm seeing. And then last thing in this realm here is the castle, the Cinderella Castle in Disney World, recently was updated, restored to a more traditional, original look, with white instead of the pink paint, darker blues on the spires, and I absolutely love the way it looks. I didn't hate the pink or the peach or whatever exact color that specifically was. I didn't hate it, but seeing what it looks like now and knowing that I'm going to get to go see it in person later this year is just unbelievable, and I cannot wait to see that. And I've also been trying to catch up. Excuse me, I've been battling a sinus infection or cold or something for the last almost 2 weeks, and I will partially blame the fact that the weather in Pennsylvania has been temperamental at best. Last week there was days where we had frost advisories. The last few days it's been in the 90s, and 2 days from now it is supposed to be in the mid 50s and raining. So I have a feeling I'm not going to be 100% anytime soon, but I will continue to soldier on. But I haven't just been watching Disney content. I've been trying to catch up on non-Disney content as well. The new Stranger Things animated series, Tales from 85, has come out, season 1. It's already been renewed for season 2. Shockingly, the Stranger Things world is still very exciting and very popular. I believe I saw this week there will be a kind of a prequel-ish live-action spin-off, as well as a potential spin-off that would come in the time frame after the show ended, the original show. This one is set in the time period between seasons 2 and 3, and I've been enjoying it. It was a little bit strange, no pun intended, to get used to the animation for starters, but more so the different voices for the characters. It is not the same actors from the regular show that are voicing the characters. It is different voice actors. So that was a little bit difficult to get into the first episode or two, but I'm settling into it. I'm liking it. I know some people have found fault in it, that you're kind of breaking away from storyline and the progression of the original show by doing this spinoff and the way that it's being done in the animated world. But I'm like, guys, you're literally talking about a show that has, these otherworldly creatures and all these other things. So maybe just suspend your disbelief just a little bit. But I love getting back into the Stranger Things, the Hawkins world. It is still just such a love of mine, and it's making me want to go back and watch Stranger Things again, which I'll probably do sooner than later, especially this summer, before we do get into football season. Recently went to the Netflix house in Philadelphia, and seeing like just some of the kind of set pieces and things they have there for Stranger Things, as well as Wednesday and some other shows on Netflix, was really cool. Picked up a Hawkins High basketball shirt while I was there as well. So if you're anywhere near the Philadelphia area or anywhere near, I think there's a couple other Netflix house locations around the country. You might want to check into those. I also watched The Greatest Showman for the first time. Just an absolute. If you enjoy musicals at all, watch this one. If you enjoy Hugh Jackman, watch this one. If you just love a really good story and a really well acted movie, and a good story, watch The Greatest Showman. Very, very good. A new teammate of mine at work recently moved to a new team, and one of my new teammates loves reality TV and was talking about this show called Age of Attraction, where you have contestants of all ages, I think ranging from like 21 to almost 70, and you're kind of put on this in this camp, and you start meeting people, and you can ask them anything except how old they are, and then there comes a point where you reveal your age and to each other, and you can decide if you want to continue getting to know and date this person or not. And there was couples that had 20 and 20 plus years difference between them and tried making it work. And you can watch the show for yourself. And at first, the concept of the show, I was like, this is going to be terrible. And then I watched the first episode, and it was very cringy. The speed dating kind of portion of the show I thought was very cringy and awful. But then as the show developed, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to watch this entire thing, because they do an incredible job at hooking you at the end of each episode and hooking you into these characters or these people. And, we got to find out who ends up with who. And I watched the entire season. And then when I got finished with that, she says, well, now you have to watch Temptation Island. And I'm like, what in the hell is that? And basically it's a show where couples go to an island where there's two separate villas, and they are couples who are not married. They're only dating, and they live separately from each other. And they, like, the guys live in a house with girls who are basically there to try and get them to realize if their relationship is one they want to stay in or not stay in. And the girls from the couple stay in a house full of guys who are in the same role. And I'm watching this show, and again, the first episode, I'm like, this is very cringy and awful and stupid, and why am I watching this? And by the end of the episode, I'm like, I'm going to watch this entire season, which I did. And for both shows, I'm like, I didn't hate this. I am certainly not going to become a reality TV dating show junkie by any stretch of the imagination, but the sad or realistic reality of this is, if/when there are new seasons of Age of Attraction and Temptation Island, I know for a fact that I will watch them because they were good enough and suckered me in, and now I'm kind of hooked into those worlds, and now I don't want to watch any other ones because I don't want to keep diving further into this world. But this is what happens when you like to be liked by the people you are around and work with and are getting to know, and you end up watching a TV series that you never thought that you would ever watch in a million years. But here we are. So for those, if you enjoy the reality shows like that, message me on social media. DWAN Pod on Twitter, Facebook.com/discussions with a nobody, or if you know my personal channels, just give me a shout. Let me know that you are with me in that reality world. Few movies I want to see this upcoming summer. I still want to see the new Mario movie. That it is, I think, probably on its way out of theaters soon. If I don't catch it there, I will catch it on streaming somewhere. There's a new one, Sheep Detectives, out right now. Speaking of Hugh Jackman, Acme versus Coyote. Absolutely cannot wait until that one comes out. If you don't know the backstory on that, look into it. It is pretty cool. The movie itself looks like it is going to be tremendous. Toy Story 5 coming out this summer as well. So that's one I will absolutely see. Oh, and Jackass the 5, the final installment of the Jackass series will be coming out in June. So plenty of opportunities for me to get to the movie theater, which I really enjoy doing. Some other classic movies I'll be coming to my local theater as well. Just a few more things. Appreciate you sticking with me through this one. This week was the midterm primaries elections here in Pennsylvania, and I gotta say I'm disappointed, and this doesn't have anything to do with the results. Honestly, I mean, in a primary election, there's not typically, at least in my state and jurisdiction, there was nothing of real consequence with these elections. Obviously, there was some places. Stares at Kentucky. Good God. But these are my disappointment is not because of results, except for Kentucky. Fuck you, Kentucky. But my disappointment is, in November of 2024, it was the first time I've ever had to stand in line at an election to vote, and then we got there before the polls opened. I've never had to stand in line before, and it's people of all different backgrounds, who are voting for likely different people than the person standing in front of them and standing behind them. But at least where I was standing that morning, it all felt very positive. It all felt like we were all there to be a part of the thing. And since then, we've had a couple special elections. We've had, this is our second round of primaries, and we got there at shortly after 7 a.m. when the polls opened, and we walked in, and there was nobody in front of us. There was one other person who was voting at the time. There was two people that came in behind us after we got done, and I don't know what the total number of people that came out that day in my district, in my jurisdiction, and in my state, but I know it wasn't on the level of November of 2024, hell, even in the spring of 2024. And I know that this upcoming November, in Pennsylvania and probably likely around the country, there will be more numbers than there were out this past Tuesday and in primaries around the country. But I wish there was the same passion for smaller, quote unquote, smaller elections, midterm elections, special elections, things like that, than there are for the major ones. And I'm not saying that the major elections don't have impacts, because again, gestures broadly at the country and at the world, and at the gas pump, and at the grocery store, and at, well, basically anywhere we have to spend money. But that's not the point. The point is, I wish that there was more care and more value put into these quote unquote small elections, because that's where our everyday lives get impacted. State and municipal level. You don't, I mean, yes, we obviously live in the country and the world every day. I'm well aware of that. But our micro, the small, the interior of our lives are dictated by the things that are done in those smaller elections, in those midterms, in those municipal elections. I just wish there was more care about them, because they are important. But hopefully you voted. If not, and your primaries are still upcoming, make sure you get out. Otherwise, I hope you get out in the fall, because again, gestures broadly at the work. You get it by now. About a year ago, my wife and I decided to really try and make a change in our life and our lifestyle. And I don't consider it dieting, because I think dieting is a short-term fix to a temporary fix, or Band-Aid even, to a long-term problem. It's like literally just like covering a wound with a towel. It's not fixing anything. It is just kind of stopping the bleeding. We really have tried to commit to a new lifestyle, changing how we eat, tracking calories on a daily basis, walking, exercising to some degree, just about every day. And a year in, the progress that I can see in myself, really is amazing. And in fact, I go back a little over a year ago, April 14th of 2025, in my Lose It app, and I will be a strong advocate for that app. Again, they do not sponsor this show. If the Lose It app wants to sponsor me or the show, please feel free. You can hit us up. I would appreciate that. But on April the 14th of 2025, I was 422 pounds. And I used to be ashamed by that number. I was very ashamed when I crossed the 400 pound threshold many years ago. And I tried to kind of deny that I had hit that mark. Although if you looked at me, it was very obvious that I was in a bad way. But on April 14th of 2025, I was 422 pounds. I weighed myself 5 days ago, and I'm 369 pounds. I'm not the greatest at math in the entire world, but I know that number is less than the first one, right? So yeah, 422. I'm going to do the quick math, and yes, if you hear clicking, that is me working a calculator, because I don't have to do quick math anymore. 53 pounds. But beyond the 53 pounds, which I am very proud of, do not get me wrong, I am very proud of that number. But I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned to look back at the way that I used to eat in such a careless manner, and the way I used to approach food in a very careless manner. And I've learned that, you don't need a half a tub of ice cream to get to enjoy and get satisfaction out of eating ice cream. You can eat a serving or a serving and a half and it's plenty. You can eat a measured bowl of cereal and enjoy it. You can eat a single sandwich. Yes, a single sandwich. And a serving of potato chips. And that's plenty to eat. Your body will be fine. But I've learned so much about how I approach food and how I approach eating. And beyond that 53 pounds, it's the fact that I've gone from a 5X t-shirt feeling a little snug to a 3XL shirt being a little loose. I'm wearing a Buc-ee's or Busey's, however you like to call them. I call it Buc-ee's. Whether that's right or not, I call it Buc-ee's. It's what I do. But I have a Buc-ee's shirt that when I bought it last fall, it was tight. And it is loose today. I've had to have my wedding ring sized down. I've been able to wear things that I haven't worn in years. One of my goals, quote unquote, when I set out, because I don't have a number goal. I don't make a number goal. But one of my goals was to be able to wear my hockey jerseys comfortably again. Because for the last couple of springtimes when the Hershey Bears have made it to the Calder Cup finals and or I get up to a hockey game and I put my jersey on when I get to the game, and I jokingly say, boy, this shrunk since the last time that I wore it. No, it didn't, obviously. I got fatter. But it was a joke to kind of cover up the fact that I felt shitty about the fact that I was now 400 pounds. 400 plus pounds. This playoff run that the Bears went on this year, albeit as short as it was, felt more successful to me than it did probably to a lot of people who went to those games at the Giant Center, because I had bought a new Bears jersey in 2023. When they won the Calder Cup, and I had not been able to wear it to a game. Or I chose not to wear it to a game because it was too tight. I wore that jersey this year to the 2 playoff games. And doing that made me feel very proud of what I have done. Seeing photos of myself from 2 years ago, seeing photos of myself now, makes me feel good. It's nice to feel good when you see a photo of yourself as opposed to hating a photo of yourself. So if you have questions about what I've done, and how I'm doing it, feel free to reach out to me. But literally, counting calories, setting a goal in a weight loss app like the Lose It app, and walking daily. I don't run. I don't go to the gym. I don't do treadmills and stair climbers and rowing machines, and I lift 20-pound dumbbells for a little 5-minute lifting routine. That's it. That's all I've done for the last year. And I'm 53 pounds. One thing that we're doing as a couple that is going to Disney at the end of this year, and to use this as a training tool, so to speak, for Disney later this year, is my wife and I are Hersheypark season pass holders for the first time ever. We're about a month-ish in. We had our 5th visit of the season so far this past Sunday. And it's already been a blast. I absolutely love it already. I'm looking forward to going up there and walking around all summer. And then when they do the fall and Halloween themed attractions in the fall, and then their famous Christmas candy lane, easy for me to say, in December. I cannot wait for all of it. I look forward to all of it. And really, what kind of pushed us over the edge to get the passes is because we're using it to quote unquote train for Disney, because we can walk 3.5, 4 miles around our house if we wanted to, but walking 3 or 4 miles around your house is a lot different than spending a full day or days in an amusement park, which is what obviously Disney is. So this is the best way that we can quote train for that. And the last couple of years we've gotten a free pass from hockey games or various if we would win them or something. We've been up the last couple of years and we've really enjoyed it. And it's like, well, why don't we just get a season pass and then go a couple of times? You pay it begins paying for itself. And people have, if you know me, you know I don't always love large crowds. I don't always love being around a ton of people. And you go, well, how do you enjoy being in an amusement park then? And to be honest with you, I don't know why I'm okay with being in an amusement park when I generally don't enjoy being around large groups of people and being hot and crowded and cramped. But I've always loved being in an amusement park. And I don't really ride rides. I don't do speed, I don't do heights, I don't do thrill rides, any of that. So I just enjoy the sounds, the smells, the people watching, just the environment of being in an amusement park is enjoyable. And in a weird way, it's peaceful to me. Except when you're sitting on a quiet bench and a family of about 8 kids and parents screaming at each other come and sit next to you. But that happens. That happened this past Sunday. I'm still bitter about it. I'm working through it. But yeah, I cannot wait for the rest of the year, rest of the summer, to continue walking around Hersheypark and being in Hersheypark all summer. Last thing before I let you all go from this discussion is I said goodbye to a piece of my childhood this evening. And that sounds probably far more dramatic than what it actually needs to be, given that what exactly I mean. But there's a grocery store in my town that will be closing this Saturday, May the 23rd. Well, growing up for me, it was Bob's Save Right, but it is most recently, since 1998, been Weiser's Market of Lidditz. And it's a store that's been open since the late 70s as Bob's Save Right. It was sold and has been Weiser's Market since 1998. And the owners are retiring, but also it's becoming harder to be an independent small grocery store in, again, gestures broadly at the world. You get it. When they announced their closure, I felt mostly surprised, also a little bit sad. And then my friend Ryan, who you also would have heard on the Stranger Things episode a few episodes ago. Go back and listen to that. If you're a Stranger Things fan and you haven't listened to it yet, please go back and check it out. We put a lot of time and effort into that one. But he reminded me that the store was closing this Saturday. So I said to my wife, we had to run out for something this evening. I said, can we go by Weiser's? And I just want to walk through it one more time before they close. And the reason why is that store was my grandma who passed away in 2011. That was the store she and I that was always her store. She shopped there. There's multiple grocery stores in my town, but that was always the one she went to. It was the smallest. It was the quietest. It was the easiest. It was the one that she had always gone to. And people knew her. As I walked through it tonight, and we walked back by the bakery section, excuse me, and I said to my wife, like, this was my grandma's section. My grandma, she loved to bake, so she was always back in that section. Knew everybody that worked there. She would go there all the time, and there was people, even as I grew up, I would go in this store because it was right next to where I worked for 16 years, and I would go in this store and there's people go, "How's your grandma? How's your grandma?" But obviously before she had passed, because they still knew her and still remembered her, and it was the same people that had worked there for 20, 30, 40 years. And so I said, I want to go and walk through this place. And not only was it a place that I spent so much time in my childhood and getting, bakery samples and meat samples or cheese samples in the deli, or just talking to all the workers. They had a car arcade game that my grandma probably spent a small fortune in quarters so I could play it every time we went there. And she would there was a bench right by the door, and she would just sit there and she would let me play. And during COVID, I basically didn't go into public places for months, from March 2020 till June or July of 2020. I basically, I would leave my house to go for walks or to go for a drive or to pick up like takeout food through a drive-through window. I didn't go into stores. I didn't go into parks or anything like that. No public places. I didn't want to get sick. I'll be honest. And there came a point where I knew that I had to start breaking myself of that, because if I didn't, it was going to get just that much harder as time went on. And I said, maybe just like going to Wiser's, because it's a smaller, quieter store at the less busy end of our town. That would probably be a great place for me to just go into. And the first time I went in there, it was on a Sunday afternoon, and I walked in and I just went aisle by aisle, and I was in there for about 8 minutes, and then a couple more people came in, and I was like, all right, I'm good. I'm leaving. And I did that trip a few times to use it to kind of reintegrate myself into going out in public places in a time that felt very scary for me to do so. And as I walk through the store tonight, again, it's 3 days away from completely closing forever. They're auctioning off the equipment, I believe, this weekend or soon. And almost every shelf is empty at this point. Everything that's in there is 50% off. I bought 2 packs of Hall's cough drops for a total of $2. And there was something oddly sweet about that, because when it first opened in the 70s, that's probably how much a pack of cough drops cost. But as I walked through and I took pictures of empty display cases, model trucks that were still on the top of the produce fridges, the original signage above the deli in the bakery section, the 2 sections that I probably spent the most time as a child in my life when I would go there, And I just walked up and down every aisle. And I took in the sights. And if you live in the northwestern corner of Lancaster County, never been in that store, somebody says the smell of Weisers, you know what it is. Just whatever the equipment and the food and the product and everything at that store, the smell of the store, when it all hit me and I began walking through it, I was flooded with more emotion than I was prepared for. And as you leave the store, just above the door, there's a white and green sign that says, "Thank you for shopping at Weisers." And I took a photo of that. And I honestly, I got teared up. And it seems so silly, in the state of the world and everything going on, gestures broadly at the universe. It felt strange in a way to get so sad about a grocery store closing when there are, counting pharmacies that sell groceries, there are 4 other groceries within a 6-minute drive of this location. And that doesn't even count like Sheetz and Turkey Hill locations that sell some grocery items. It felt so strange to get that emotional and to get that, to feel that heavy about a grocery store. But it's another sad reminder of the state of the world. Say it with me. Gestures broadly at the country, at the world, at the universe. But it's people in the community that I live in that are now going to be out of a job. It is going to be people who live on that end of the town that I live in that have to travel further to get their groceries. It's people like me who have been just going through a lot and can think of places like that and kind of step back in time at places like that. To kind of feel nostalgic and to remember when life felt a lot simpler. And when you lose something like that, it makes everything feel heavier. And so I think as I've been thinking about it, because originally I didn't, when I started planning this episode, I hadn't gone to the store yet. And I hadn't thought about it when I came home tonight and I started putting the additional notes together. I was like, yeah, this ended up being far more important to me than I thought. So I don't know what your Weisers is. I don't know what your nostalgic happy place is. If you still have yours, within the next week, from when you hear this, visit that place. Visit that place and just kind of take it in for a minute. Because, sadly, it feels like those places are less and less. If you've lost your nostalgic happy place, I'm with you. And I know how it feels now. So thank you, Weiser's Market. Thank you, Bob's Save Right Market. Goodbye. And I will miss you, and I know many others will as well. All right. Well, that is, as my voice has started giving out, I've paused and had to clear my throat a few times, especially over the last about 10 minutes or so of this recording. My voice is giving out a bit, so I will close it up there. I want to thank everybody for listening. If you stuck with it till the end, especially, I appreciate you. And if you enjoyed the show, let me know. If you didn't enjoy the show, I guess you can let me know as well. At least you're listening. If you enjoyed it, share it with somebody else. I would appreciate that. Make sure you're subscribed on all podcast platforms. You can get us on YouTube at DWAN Pod, Facebook.com/discussions with a nobody. Twitter is at DWAN Pod as well. You know how to find me. If you know, on all my social channels. Until next time, I hope you stay well and do something that brings you joy when you listen to this. Until next time, take care.